Okay, welcome to Boulder County Transit Public Meeting.
Bienvenidos a la reunión pública de servicios de transporte público del condado de Boulder.
The purpose of this meeting is for the public transit within Boulder County to discuss the projects and meet the people who are helping provide the services.
El propósito de esta reunión es para que el servicio público del condado de Boulder hable sobre sus proyectos y hablar sobre los servicios que aportan.
This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the project website for those unable to attend.
Este seminario web está siendo grabado y lo vamos a publicar en el sitio web para las personas que no pudieron asistir.
We do ask that you use the Q&A feature to ask any questions throughout the presentation.
Utilice la función de preguntas y respuestas para hacer preguntas.
And Spanish interpretation is being provided.
Y si se proporciona interpretación en español, para poder tener acceso a eso de la interpretación de español, por favor, hágale clic a los 3 puntos donde dice more o más y selecciona interpretación, ya que la interpretación la tiene prendida, o a veces tienen un icono de globo, le hace clic a ese icono y puedes seleccionar español para que puedas escuchar esta presentación en español. Gracias.
Okay, we're going to start with a few introductions. My name is Paul Kwiatkowski. I'm the Transit Program Manager for Boulder County. I'm excited to be here with you and be part of this presentation as we go through these important projects.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Hyderett. I'm the Regional Multimodal Planning Division Manager here at Boulder County.
And I'm Angel Bond. I'm the Mobility for All Program Manager.
I'm Jessica Villena Sanchez. I'm also with Boulder County Mobility for All.
I'm Adriana Torres. I am the Operations Manager at Via Mobility Services.
And I'm not sure if Michelle's here, but this is Kim Mitchell with the town of Lyons.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Before we get started, I just want to confirm that you're seeing the introduction slide.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Before we keep going, Angel, can we turn on the interpretation channel?
Jessica, I think you should be able to see it now since I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, I am doing it now. Just a sec. All right.
Well, I guess I can say at the onset, before we get too far into this, that we are here to discuss the services that are being provided within Boulder County from Boulder County. So we saw some questions pertaining to RTD and other services in the area that Boulder County doesn't have control over. And those are not, unfortunately, the services that we'll be discussing tonight.
Nydia, are we good with the interpretation? Okay, perfect.
Welcome. We're glad to be here. We're excited about the program of services, and it's a awesome opportunity to meet with members of the public virtually, and not only to discuss these services, but to receive input from you as well. We'll be giving a brief overview of the county transit programs, including Lyons Flyer, Ride Free Lafayette, mountain rides, future transit projects, and a survey at the end because we need feedback from the public. Want to bring up the holiday schedule. These routes are being funded by federal dollars, and part of the agreement is that we take federal holidays on the services. So you see in front of you a list of holidays coming up. Importantly, next Monday, Labor Day, Lyons Flyer, Ride Free Lafayette, and Mountain Rides will not be offering services. We are developing a program for inclement weather and other emergencies that can come up. Safety is our top priority, and time to time we have to evaluate canceling or delaying services. When we do that, we'll be posting notices through the Boulder County and via Mobility Services, social media, websites, and other outreach programs we have available. We're in the process of developing a code of conduct, and the basis of this is quite simple: respect for others and safety for the driver and the rest of the passengers on board. A key point is service animals are always allowed and encouraged, but as well as well-behaved pets that are under the control of an owner in a cage and on a leash and interact well with others. We want to allow pets on our services as well. There, unfortunately, when there's rules of conduct, there can be a time to time that we have a violation of a conduct of our respect for others. And our policy, when it is presented out, will also have some resulting penalties that can happen, which would include from a warning to a 2-week suspension, and for multiple violations could be suspension of the service for up to a month. But those details will be compiled in our code of conduct as we present that out. We've asked from time to time, people want to know about changing a spot, stop, or a service area. We are trying to, or are, following the RTD service change schedule 3 times a year. We'll evaluate January, May, August, and September. So right now, having public meetings and feedback, and we have a process of taking suggestions and taking requests, and we'll explain pertaining to the Lyons Flyer and Ride Free Lafayette as we get more into the services, what we have to evaluate that. But there is a way, and we do want to hear from people that have service requests for changes. Lyons Flyer. Exciting that this route started back up after RTD discontinued the Y route. It's between Lyons and Boulder, or Boulder and Lyons, depending on where you get on, Monday through Friday. So wheelchair accessible bus has a bike racks for up to 2 bikes. There's a map of the stops and the service area. Here's the schedule that can be found on the Boulder County website. It's also on the Lyons website as well. And it shows from southbound to north, or as the next slide will show you from Lyons to Boulder. But I also like to point out the middle line. There is now a midday service that has started, and it just started August 12th, and it's going to be through the end of the year. And the funding for that is a grant through VIA, and we want to recognize that our provider has been able to put that route in for us to be able to use on our services as we've had in the past, and it'll go through the rest of this year. So there's the northbound times, and you can see it starting at 12 in Boulder as it heads north. The statistics, this Lyons Flyer has been running for 2 years and 2 months. So far, we've had 10,955 total passengers. And that was real time as of 2 days ago, which is averaging just under 20 riders per weekday. As far as trip planning goes, you can use the Passio app, which pushes real-time information towards the transit app or to Google Maps. It's important that it's not just a schedule that it's showing you, but it's actually showing you real-time where the bus is for your planning purposes. Now, pertaining to the change requests that we have in our process, the factors that we have to consider, the equity per stop, what that does to the overall route, stop distances. Like I said earlier, it is a commuter line. The connecting infrastructure and effects that it can have on on-time performance. So it's not just as simple as putting a bus stop at every intersection. We have to really consider the overall route, its purpose, its service, and make sure that any other stop or any change to a stop is consistent with that mission.
And I'll go ahead and cover a couple of other transportation options with Lyons. So we understand that Lyons Flyer isn't going to meet everybody's mobility needs. So the town of Lyons and Boulder County are partnering with Z-Trip in order to provide vouchers for folks. So people can get a $50 voucher each way for a trip to or from Lyons to or from Longmont to Boulder with that connection to Lyons. People can pick up a round trip, so 2 different vouchers for $50. And for the Boulder trip specifically, we encourage people to, the vouchers are not good for times that the Lyons Flyer bus service is operating, but for Longmont, the vouchers are good all day long. So that's another option for people to be able to get to and from Boulder and to and from Longmont to expand their mobility. The town of Lyons administers or distributes those vouchers through the recreation department. So if you know of anybody who needs that service, they can get vouchers from the town hall. Another option is via paratransit. So via paratransit is a door-through-door service, which means that they can help, the drivers can help people get in and out of their home. In Lyons specifically, the service is available on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So this service is a paratransit service that's specifically intended for individuals with limited mobility, older adults, and individuals with disabilities. And the contact information for Via Mobility Services is on this slide as well. Lastly, Mobility for All also has a sheet of transportation options that will talk about biking or ride-hailing services like GoGo Grandparent or Uber and Lyft. So we do have this flyer that we can send people if they need that. If somebody's on Medicaid or qualifies for other services, we would also point them in the direction of those services. So it's not fully comprehensive, but it's a place to start for transportation options. And I'll turn it back to you, Paul.
Thanks. Okay, let's discuss the Ride Free Lafayette. It is a free bus service, runs 7 days a week. You actually schedule a pickup and a drop off. We'll hear more about that in a minute. It is wheelchair accessible, and we're very proud to announce it as a brand new electric bus that is starting service. Here is a map of the service area for Ride Free Lafayette. And we have the top 10 locations. You can see one of the stops is King Super, Walmart. So it's good for shopping, but I like to highlight number 10. That's my favorite, Dairy Queen. Notes on the service area. The northern part of the route, King's Super, is moving north, and we have now, for the sake of providing human services, we are moving the boundary to the north to encompass the King's Super and the Safeway across the street as well. It does go to, for the same reasons, Kestrel in Louisville and the Arc Thrift Store in Louisville have been incorporated into the service area for human services. For the ridership, it's been running for 4 years, over 48,000 trips, which equals almost 58 riders per day. Adriana, maybe you can speak to the new reservation system.
Absolutely. So Ride Free Lafayette will have a new reservation system coming on October 1st. With this new system, you will be downloading a new app. You will need to register for the first time. Again, it is a new system. When you are registering to use it, it will ask you for a phone number and an email address, and this is a must in order for you to complete that account creation. It will send you a code. So that's the first thing that it'll ask. It will also ask you for your name, for your mobility device, if you're using a wheelchair, or if you're not, you can leave that blank. With this new system, the pickup window will change. You will receive a 30-minute pickup window. As an example, if I want an 11 o'clock pickup, if it is available, the system will give you that 30-minute window, and it will say your pickup window is between 11 and 11:30.
Thank you, Adriana. So I'm going to go ahead and address one question that's in the chat. It was about the other services, if they're available for people with disabilities and older adults. So Mobility for All services is for the general public, and we do target older adults and people with disabilities and low-income households. Via Mobility Services specifically is for people over 60 years old and people with disabilities. I'll get into a little bit with this other transportation options here in Lafayette as well. So I want to note that we know that Ride Free Lafayette isn't going to meet everybody's needs. And we just want to point people who have disabilities that prohibit them from using the fixed route bus in the direction of RTD's Access-a-Ride. So RTD does offer the what's called a complimentary paratransit service for individuals who can't use fixed route, and that service is available 3/4 of a mile from the fixed route. It does require people to get certified for the program, and this phone number is where people can call to find out more information on Access-a-Ride. Also via paratransit, so this is the one that I said, they offer paratransit service for individuals with limited mobility, specifically older adults and individuals with disabilities. And in Lafayette, they also have via paratransit, and people can help, the drivers can help you get in and out of your home. And it's the same contact information as before. And for Lafayette, we also, Mobility for All, which is open to the general public, does have a list of different transportation options, specifically targeting Lafayette. And here's our contact information. If anybody needs options counseling or needs to find out about like how to plan trips, Mobility for All can help you in that aspect. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Paul, or do you want me to take this one?
If you would, that'd be great.
Yeah, wonderful. So Mountain Rides is a relatively new service in the mountains. It's a free service that Via Mobility Services operates, and Boulder County provides the local match for it. It's free. It goes between Ward, Nederland, and Rollinsville. It is a human services transportation option, so it only operates on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. It is wheelchair accessible and does have a bike rack. And the Monday service is at this point, it's only through the end of this calendar year. So this has been a service that we worked with the Peak to Peak Housing and Human Services Alliance to be able to launch. here's a map of the service. And on the next couple of slides, I do have the timeline for each of the round trips that they do. So the bus starts in Ward, goes to Nederland, and then goes to Rollinsville, and then does the reverse trip. We call that a loop. So here is the schedule for Mountain Rides loop number 1. And you can see that there's a layover back in Ward before it starts the second loop of the day. And really these services, or this service has been timed to help support access to the senior lunches that are offered at the Nederland Community Center, the pantry, and the clothing closet. Here's the ridership. We launched this service in July of last year, and the service has steadily been growing over the last year. And last month, we served over approximately 150 people. And we've provided over 1,000 trips to date. And other transportation options for Nederland, people can reach out to Mobility for All, and we can help people either sign up for RTD's Accessoride or help connect them with Intelleride or what's called TransDev Health Solutions for people who are on Medicaid. And I will turn this over to Alex Hyde-Wright.
Thank you, Angel. I'm going to talk about a couple upcoming transit projects that the county has in the works, and I'll start with our countywide strategic transit plan. Boulder County received a Dr. Cog TIP grant to help fund this study. We're looking at a kickoff in early 2025 and an 18-month study timeline. The purpose of this study is really to lay the groundwork for future transit service expansion in Boulder County. We know between RTD, Boulder County, and the city of Boulder and other providers, we do have a lot of service in our county. But there is a gap between the service that is existing and the service that's desired in the transportation master plans from a lot of our communities. And so this study is really intended to look at that gap between the existing and desired level of service and explore what type of resources, what amount of funding is going to take to fill that gap, and develop recommendations for how we should go about providing that service. If you go to the next slide. Some other new routes that we have in the works include the Southeast Boulder County Superflex. This is going to be a new on-demand transit service that will launch in early 2025. It's funded for 3 years through the end of 2027, and it will allow for cross-jurisdictional one-seat rides between the different municipalities in Southeast Boulder County, including Superior, Louisville, Lafayette, and Erie. This additional service is going to overlay and be on in addition to the existing Superior and Louisville Flex Ride service, as well as the Ride Free Lafayette. We could go to next slide. One other on-demand service that we want to preview is the Gun Barrel Shuttle. This service will also launch in early 2025 and is currently funded through 2029. This will provide on-demand service in the Gun Barrel area, including Heatherwood, which after the COVID pandemic lost a portion of the RTD Route 205 service. This will also provide a first and final mile connection to the RTD Bolt service, Colorado 119 and 63rd Street, and the future bus rapid transit service along the DAG. We could go to next slide. And the last new route that we'd like to announce is the Colorado 7 bus route. This is going to operate on State Highway 7 between Boulder and Brighton. And so within Boulder County, that's Arapahoe, and then through Lafayette, Colorado 7 kind of squiggles down to Baseline and continues on Baseline out east of Boulder County. Unlike the previous 2 routes I mentioned, this is going to be a fixed route, so it will have a set route and schedule. And service will begin in early 2026. And currently we have funding for this service for 2 years for 2026 and 2027. Our funding is to provide service all day, every 30 minutes in both directions, linking the city of Boulder, Lafayette, Erie, Broomfield, Thornton, and all the way out to Brighton. And service will be Monday through Friday for 2026, and then we'll add Saturday and Sunday service for 7 days a week in 2027. If we go to next slide, I'm going to turn this back over to Angel.
Thank you, Alex. So we are going to be collecting feedback on the changes specifically for Lyons Flyer and Ride Free Lafayette, specifically with the changeover to the new system for Ride Free Lafayette and the changes to some of the policies that we have with like the 30-minute window and such. We also will collect general information on just these services and how they've been meeting your needs. So after this meeting, we'll send out the link to the survey for you to be able to complete. And during this time, we'll answer some questions that you have. So are there any concerns or issues that you would like us to address? And I see in the chat some comments about Lyons Flyer and the service that RTD offered previously with the Y service. I don't know if you'd like to address that, Alex. About how Lyons Flyer doesn't fully duplicate what the Y route had done before.
Okay. As part of the feedback we're looking for this service change is if there are changes to the Lyons Flyer that we'd like to make. And want to address that Ms. Hardman has put in a request for an additional stop on the rural part of 36. And I've discussed that with Paul and Via. I think we're looking at that additional stop. But if there are other changes to the schedule or requests for additional stops, as Paul mentioned earlier, we want to evaluate those in the context of the overall route and make sure we can accommodate those within the existing schedule. But we do understand that there were some stops on the previous RTD Y route that we have not initially retained to the Lyons Flyer.
Thank you, Alex. At this point, we'll open it up to more questions. So we have a question about riders. Will they still be able to schedule Ride Free Lafayette via phone call after the introduction of the new app? Adriana, would you like to answer that question?
Yes. Yes, you can still call. The call center will be open Sunday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
And just to clarify, people do need either a phone number or an email address in order to create an account. Is that correct?
To create an account to use the mobile app. If they call in, all we really need is a name. A phone number is good in case something happens. We can call them back as well.
Wonderful. And I know we had mentioned if people have a mobility device, that they can say it at that point that they might need a little bit extra time.
Correct.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Denise, for that question. It looks like there is a fan of Superflex in the audience here, so we're definitely looking forward to that new service. That's one thing that we've heard over the years is that people, the Flex rides and Ride Free Lafayette are great for local trips, but really that cross-jurisdictional trip need wasn't being met. So we're looking forward to that being launched as well. So there's another question about Lyons Flyer. Does the Lyons Flyer have RTD connections from Longmont? And Paul, I'll let you answer that question. Unless you want me to.
Probably not the best person for that.
Okay.
So the Lyons Flyer does not have a connection to Longmont through RTD. You'd have to ride the Lyons Flyer to Boulder and then connect to the Bolt. But a faster way to get between Lyons and Longmont would be to use the Z-Trips taxi voucher program. So again, those vouchers are available from town at several locations throughout town, and those are good for travel between Lyons and Longmont in addition to off-peak travel between Lyons and Boulder.
So if somebody wanted to travel from Longmont to Lyons, they would pick up a voucher from the Lyons Town Hall to be able to take that trip back and forth between Longmont and Lyons. Thank you, Sarah, for that question. Let's see. So there is a comment about just ADA requirements along a highway can be challenging. So as Paul mentioned before, we do take into consideration what infrastructure is in place and how people can safely access bus service. So we wouldn't want to put anybody in an unsafe situation if there wasn't a location to do a bus pickup. Do you want to add anything else to that, Paul or Alex?
I think that covers it.
Okay, wonderful. Are there any other questions or testimonies? I'm interested how I see that we have approximately 30 attendees. How many people, if you can put in the chat if you'd like, how many people are currently using the existing services, either Ride Free Lafayette, Mountain Rides, or Lyons Flyer? So we have another question about Lyons Flyer. So Ian would like to know if there's been a discussion about using Lyons Flyer to help with festival traffic during the summer. Alex, would you like to answer that question?
Currently, obviously, the service just runs Monday through Friday. Several years ago, I forget exactly how long ago, Boulder County did run a shuttle between Lyons and Boulder on Friday afternoons and evenings, and then Saturday and Sunday. We did discontinue that after several years, I believe, due to low ridership. So that's not to say that we couldn't look at bringing it back at some point in the future. And we certainly have received some other requests for weekend service on the Lyons Flyer. Our focus in 2024 has been on getting set up to use our Federal Transit Administration funding on a new contract that complies with a lot of federal requirements that came along with some funding we've received. And so that's been our focus this year. But as we grow up with the Lyons Flyer a little bit more, we can certainly look at expanding back into the weekends.
Great, thank you, Alex. So it looks like Sarah Lee would like to know a little bit more about Superflex. I can take this, and then Paul and Alex, if you want to add anything to it, feel free. So Superflex is going to be a demand responsive service similar to Ride Free Lafayette and Flex Ride. So it's open to the general public. People will be able to call in or use an app to be able to request the trip. And specifically, it's a Dr. Cog funded project that will run for 2 years, and will be able to go from Superior to Louisville to Lafayette and parts of Erie. So this is something that we are excited for, because hopefully it'll allow for more mobility across the Southeast Boulder County cities that are there, because that is one issue that people have talked about. Sometimes people don't really think about where the jurisdictional boundaries are. They just want to get to, the King Soopers that's right down the road. So an excellent example of this is King Soopers when it moved from Lafayette, which was in the service area, up to Erie. So we want to make sure that people are able to access where they need to go. I don't know if Paul or Alex, you want to add about Superflex.
I think the important thing to remember is it goes through multiple jurisdictions where there is other transportation services within the smaller area. But if you want to go outside of your immediate area and go from Lafayette to Erie, you're able to do that, or to Superior within that area, and not have to switch buses and stay on one route. So it'll be an exciting addition. It's kind of an overlay. But what will be important, though, is if you're staying within your area, to stay on that particular service and take this one from within to outside, or outside within, whichever way you go.
Great. Thank you, Paul. That's great. So it looks like Elaine is not currently using the services, but she's excited for Gun Barrel Shuttle. So we are too. As many of you know, the 205 was discontinued, or at least it was cut short. And so I know that there's a need for demand responsive services in Gun Barrel. And Bob, he mentioned that the chat is disabled. So yes, sorry, I misspoke. You can go ahead and put comments in the Q&A, and we'll be able to interact that way. Thank you for pointing that out. And it looks like Bob does regularly use Ride Free Lafayette. I hope that you'll be able to finish or complete the survey and let us know what we're doing well and how we can improve. So thank you, Bob, for joining us tonight. Okay. So Denise, thank you. So Denise is saying that she has not used the service yet, but several of her neighbors at Traditions Lafayette use Ride Free Lafayette. And it's a good introduction to transit services, other than the private vehicle, which they really value. Thank you so much. So Molly has mentioned that she can't use Lyons Flyer because there's a 5-mile stretch of highway with no stops. That she would have to walk 2 miles to the nearest stop. So Molly, that's something that you can definitely include in the survey responses when you complete the survey. We appreciate you sharing that with us. Okay. And there's an anonymous attendee that talked about Ride Free Lafayette not necessarily being able to meet their needs. We hope that you're able to share a little bit more details in the survey response. And it looks like Jane Ireland is interested in having Lyons Flyer on Saturdays. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, we have put up on the screen QR codes and URLs for 2 email newsletters. So we have Transit News, which is the first one. That one is published on an as-needed basis whenever we have project updates, and it's in English. We also have the Mobility for All newsletter, which is a multimodal newsletter. So we promote options, multimodal transportation options, and that one is in English and in Spanish. So if you want to subscribe to those newsletters, please feel free to either scan the QR code, go to the URL, or email us, and we can give you the subscription link. And then also there's another question about, are there going to be transit options for Marshall all year? Would this work all day, or options for students? Alex, would you like to address that one?
So for Marshall, RTD has reinstated the Route GS, which does provide service between Boulder and Golden along State Highway 93. And I believe the stops at Highway 170 in Marshall have also been reinstated. Do want to note that right now that service is just Monday through Friday, as I believe it was before the pandemic, and there are several trips in the morning peak and then several trips in the afternoon peak.
Great, thank you. There's also another comment about people trying to get stops reinstated that were cut since the Y route. And that she's hoping that what hope does she have to get anything changed with like new stops along the Lyons Flyer?
Well, we have the information, so it'll be evaluated according to the change protocol that we have in place.
And the last question that I see for right now is, where will this presentation be posted in the Boulder County webpage? We don't currently have a webpage for it, but we will post it on both the Lyons Flyer, Ride Free Lafayette web pages, and we'll also email people a direct link once it's up with the survey. So we have your email address because you registered for this, and so we'll send it directly to you. And then what is the protocol? I'm assuming that's what is the protocol for service changes.
We are taking that feedback now, and we have that request.
So Molly will be able to follow up with you after this. Like we'll send out the survey. That way we can provide a little bit more information on the exact location. And again, we can't promise anything necessarily, but there's a lot of factors that go into the decision-making process, but we definitely know that it's a vital connection for you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we just want to thank you all for spending the evening with us. We know that you have a lot of competing priorities and we really appreciate you being here to listen to the transit updates. And we will follow up with an email by the end of the week with the survey, the link to the recording, and the web page where this recording will be posted. Thank you very much. Paul, I'll turn it over to you.
I just want to thank everybody for showing up, as Angel did, and thank you for the participation. It's really important as we plan for things going forward. The county is extremely excited to be offering these services and to continue to be a provider for transportation into the future. So there'll be the projects that Alex has outlined and others as we go forward. So we just really appreciate your participation, your feedback, and most of all, go out and ride on a bus, ride the service, and let us know how we're doing. Thank you for joining us all tonight.